In our meeting, City of Benton Commission meeting, May 6, 2019. Identification, led by the Pledge of Allegiance by our City Manager, Mr. Watson. Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Harrelson.
Oh. Lord, we thank you for your loving kindness. We thank you for your tender mercy. Lord, bless this meeting on tonight. Bless everyone in a special way. This bless in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Adams.
Present.
Commissioner Harrelson.
Present.
Commissioner Henderson. Here. Commissioner Henry. Commissioner Isom.
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Mayor Person Simmons. Commissioner Singleton.
Present.
Mayor Muhammad.
Present.
We have a quorum present.
Is there a motion for the approval of the regular minutes of April?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Adams, supported by Commissioner Harrelson. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson. Yes. Commissioner Adams.
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Isom.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry, this is on the regular minutes of April 15th.
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Is there a motion for the approval of the special minutes of April 29, 2019?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Adams, supported by Commissioner Singleton. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Henderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Isom.
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Special meeting?
This is on the special.
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Commissioner Adams.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Is there a motion for the approval of accounts payable listing?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Adams, and it was supported by Commissioner Harrelson. Is there discussion? Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
Yeah, Mayor, looking at check for $10,252.32. That wash body shop. I'm wondering if that was.
Chair recognizes City Manager.
Yeah, I think that's public safety would probably be a better, quicker answer on this one.
That was for a vehicle crash, officer responding, lights and sirens, got hit by a car. The city only had to actually pay the deductible. The insurance company paid the insurance settlement to the city, then that went to the insurance, to the body shop.
Thank you.
What? Oh, that was really confusing.
If Commissioner Singleton yields the floor, then we
Yield.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
That was kind of confusing to me, Clark. You said that the check was written $10,252.32. That was just a deductible?
No, we only had to pay the $500 deductible through no fault. So the insurance company paid the city $9,000, whatever the difference would be. And then we pay the full amount to Walsh.
Oh, okay. Now I got you. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Singleton. I revert my time back to Singleton.
No further questions.
Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Yes, 207, AT&T, Lincoln Park, Guardhouse, 13,000.
70
3 of 7,
676
software.
678 678.
What's the other, Commissioner?
2 of 7, 70, 69, 5.
7695?
Yes. These, 7 of 7, 3 payments to Pearson Construction.
Okay, so the last one that you asked about was the Pearson Construction. Those 3 payments, 2 of them are for the farmer's market, so if you look at the total of them, it's about $240,000. That was the difference in what we had, what was approved for payment minus what was given to us by the USDA.
Is the job complete?
It is not complete.
Okay.
There is a retainage that is still there, that has not been paid, so that's still being held. The last one is for the armory, that is work that has been done thus far, that it is not complete, that's just a payment toward it.
Wait a minute, this last one,
400,000?
112, that's for the armory?
Yes, ma'am, it says armory renovations over to the right.
I would just, I've been down, I was down when they were working, and I just happen to be familiar with this type of work, and just, this is troubling, and especially if this is just one payment.
Yeah, this is a 3-phase, project for the armory.
Okay, so, from what I've saw so far, I'm just wondering why this is so much in their draw.
So I can get you the actual document of what was done and and the dollar amounts that are associated with it.
Okay.
If you want me to, we can talk about it at Personnel Finance Committee meeting, relative to that.
Okay, that'd be fine, and I hope that moving forward that we can put together some type of committee to overlook and view receipts that come through here when work is handed out to people, because the community block grant dollars have not served this community, but everybody else that always have their hands in it, and I'm hoping that this is the last time the gig is up, that we can get something done for the people in this community. Next item, please.
So you asked about innovative software, that is the payment for the city tax software for the income tax.
Is that a yearly payment?
That is a one-time payment for the purchase of the software, yes. And then the last one you asked about was Gene Clark Park.
Yeah.
That is a payment to AT&T. They denote it as Gene Clark Park Guardhouse, but that is not specifically just for the guardhouse.
Mm-hmm.
It is where they identify from a location standpoint. So when we get bills from the electric company, we get bills from AT&T, they're related to a specific area that they identify it with. So you'll see, we'll have an electric payment that'll come from Wall and Pipestone. That's where the meter is, but it serves more than just Wall and Pipestone.
Okay, so this would consist of our water.
This is the water plant area, this is out on Gene
I
Clark
mean,
Park.
I guess I asked that question
Yeah.
because it seems like it would make more sense if it said water plant as opposed to a little bitty shed.
Well, I can relay that to AT&T,
Okay.
because they are the ones who.
I mean, I'm just saying, because I remember a couple of months ago, there was one for the, Gene Clark Park shed for 500 and something.
Correct. And that, like I said, that's their billing
Yeah,
to us.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Rice.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor. I have, Bittner and Jennings, attorney, $19,901 and 42 cents. Give me a clear, I think it's
What number is that, Commissioner?
670,725.
670 or 70?
70725.
70725. you have Benton Jennings, which is, this one specifically is two cases that we're dealing with. One is the billing per the contract, which is for normal services that they do for the city. And then the other one is for a tax tribunal, which is involving Harbor Shores.
The total add up to that 19.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Are those cases done already, or they finished, or they still in the works?
The tax tribunal with Harbor Shores, I believe, is still ongoing. Oh, that one's done. I'm sorry. That one is done. That one is done.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I do appreciate us taking time to look at these amounts. There is, and I don't want to call a name, check number 70736. On the second page there, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the bottom. I know that tonight we're voting on grass cutting. I'm trying to find out how they already received some money. Grass cutting that we have not approved contracts yet. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Keep that.
Chair recognizes City Manager.
So, Commissioner Seats, that was a request to cut grass on Main Street in advance of the Blossom Parade. There was a need to cut the grass before this was actually, so this is not a part of the contract. This was a separate and apart from the contract that will be let after the vote, after the vote for, on this evening.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I just would ask the question, how do we pick the contractor? And then also, the same contractor is being awarded a contract, or is possibly gonna get a contract. Do we not, as a city, still own any kind of lawn equipment, weed whackers? I thought last time I checked, we still had some of that equipment, some weed whackers, lawnmowers, and everything down there at the Public Works. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, we do. That is true. There are things down there that we do. But at the same time, you also have debris removal. That has been a component of things that have been done this year. You also have alleys that have been cleaned up. You also have other things, pothole patching that is going on. So it's only so much that the crew can do, and there was a need to have some done outside of what the crew can do.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
Just, follow up back on the, Benton Jennings. You said that the 19 covered the, tax tribunal case and regular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Up further than, what was it 3,500 for? Was the 3,500 included in that, or was you get 3,500 plus the 19?
There is a separate contract or an agreement for criminal prosecution that is separate and apart from regular review of documents, contract preparation, things of that nature. So there are two aspects of the contract.
So 3,500 covered that.
Is for that project, yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats. Commissioner Jones,
No.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
No.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
No.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous.
This brings us to the citizens' comments, as well as public participation, which consists of the audience, anyone who registers with the city clerk to speak, and she will call you accordingly.
Ms. Emma Kennard.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Emma Kennard, I'm a resident.
Hey, you gotta ask them to approach the
Can you
bench.
pass these down?
Pass them to the city clerk,
Okay.
please.
You can pass these out to them so they know what you're speaking on.
I just want to make sure that I had a discussion with Commissioner Jones last meeting. And I just want to make sure that when I was appointed to Dial-A-Ride, I took care of business like it's supposed to be taken care of. And I've got my proof of the things that I talked to him about. And this is about us firing Mr. Little. And as you can see here, that they said Mr. Purvis signed. Mr. Purvis is not a board member. What he did, he signed as a witness that she signed these without the knowledge of the board. And so this here was his contract. We did not even view the contract. We didn't even know. He made his own contract up. So as he did, he has a whole month vacation, and all that he don't use spills over to the next year and the next year, however he wanted to do it. And this was signed by her. We didn't have anything to do with this, and witnessed by Mr. Purvis. He's just a witness. Also, the $30,000 that he got a raise, only her signature is here. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, that these are the things that went on with Dial-A-Ride, and it was saying that we didn't do things right. We did things right to get rid of a problem before it festers. And this will show you even how much money that he had spent. 550 something.
88,000 in a year.
And within a year. $100,000. Now, and then vehicles he was buying that didn't even serve a purpose for Dial-A-Ride. They were just buses that he was buying. Then he was on his way to ask for 2 new cars for the staff. And I don't know how many other things he got listed here. So that's why I wanted this passed out to you all so you'll understand what we're doing. And it's already in the articles of incorporation that the entire board, these matters are supposed to be brought before us. So anybody that want to question what we did everything by the letter. And we've been in touch with the lawyer, our attorney, and made sure that we're following everything, every I's dotted, every T is crossed. Plus we're putting in some more things like we're updating our articles of incorporation and other things that we're putting in place so that this never happens again. And so now, if you guys do what we did, we followed through and found out what was going on, and we find a problem, we get rid of it. Because if you let it stay here, it's going to fester bigger and bigger, and just like the city, raggedy as I don't know what, you're going to end up with a raggedy city or a raggedy business because you're not taking care of the business. So I got my proof as to what I said, and I ain't gonna lie about it. I got it here.
Thank you,
to show
Ms.
you.
Kennard.
Yes, I know. Y'all want me to hurry up and get down, but I'm gonna say what I gotta say.
Mr. Michael Ward.
Cover up. That's what it is. Right.
Good evening, Mayor. Michael Hoy, property owner of 972 Pavone, taxpayer, City of Benton Harbor. I'm the co-author of the Benton Harbor Unsolved Murders. This started back with Lisa Gorman, and every Christmas around her birthday she would list all the unsolved murders of Benton Harbor. This May 16th, on Thursday at sundown at Yarborough Park, we'll be having a candlelight vigil. We'll be walking from Yarborough Park down to Britton Avenue, where at Britton Avenue, we believe Leonard Brown will be joining us and giving more details of the bodies that were found in the river. We hope that he joins us. Again, that's at sundown, candlelight vigil. We're starting our own Facebook page for this candlelight vigil, the unsolved murders, to get more details. Tomorrow, I'd like to thank Public Safety Director Mr. Dan McGinnis for working with me. Tomorrow we have a 9 o'clock meeting where we'll be condensing this list and working together to really see exactly what we have. He has names that we don't know. We have names that he doesn't know. Some of the names were duplicated, things of that nature. So please come out and be with us. Please go to ABC 57 News, their website, go to their long ribbon, it'll say news, click down to the river. You'll see more stories that are coming in of the unsolved murders of Benton Harbor. So as we move forward, please come join us again on May 16th. It's Thursday at sundown. This is a peaceful candlelight vigil. This is not a protest. This is for us to come together and be as one as a community as we work forward and work together as a community. Thank you very much.
Mr. Archie Davis.
Good evening, Commissioner and Mayor. My purpose is coming here tonight to let you know what the committee, Juneteenth Committee Awareness is doing along with Ms. Emma Kennard. June the 15th at Broadway Park, we're having a parade to celebrate Juneteenth. You know, it's going to start at 1 o'clock and it's going to wind up at 275 Pipestone from 2 to 6. And we want everybody in the community to come out and celebrate this big event, because I talked with TJ, the pastor in Houston, TDJ, and my brother's a minister down there, and he said it's something that I thought about last year with my wife. She's from Dallas, and they're doing it now. They didn't got a legalized holiday in Dallas for Juneteenth. So I just want to let our community know what's going on about Juneteenth, and enlighten the kids, because our children don't really know what it is. But it's something that all the cities now is taking part in doing this annual event. It's actually on June the 19th, but we're going to celebrate on June the 15th. So that's what I've been working on with Ms. Emma Kennard and the committee, trying to bring, enlighten, involve our community on what happened back years ago with the slaves, how they made the way for us. And we got to teach our children that it's better days so they can learn about what was going on in history back in those days. And I talked with her senior yesterday. She was 89 years old. She told me some things that she got scars for some of her relatives that was involved in things that happened back years ago. And she talked to me lightly, but I told her, she broke down and had tears. Now she said, well, son, she said, can I ask you a question? She said, can I come? I said, of course, because you're a part of the history. Why not? So she said, well, I appreciate what the committee and you guys is doing, because you hadn't forgot us. And when she said that, I broke down there and I said, no, man, we haven't forgot us. We just got to enlighten our kids and get in their mind that what was going on to teach them that they paved the way for us. So that's what my purpose is. I work on a lot of things, but it's always been something that I wanted to do, because all the cities is celebrating now. So that's about it. Thank you.
Mr. Jamie Davis.
I'd like to say good evening to the council.
Good evening.
Glad to be here. I want to talk about a situation, a scene that I've seen in the city. The elder brought up Juneteenth. That's a wonderful idea. I'd love to be a part of that.
All right.
He brought up the children. And I saw one of our children in the city, over near community, Church of God in Christ. He got dropped off, and the car kept going, made the turn, came around. But as the car was making the turn, dropped him off to come back around, here comes another car. Beat up old red car with 2 Europeans in the window. That little brother that got dropped off goes to the car, sticks his hand in the car. I don't know whether he was giving or receiving. And they pulled off. Then the little car that came back around, dropped the little brother off, picked him up, and he drove off. And that's happening in our city. Europeans are coming in our city, selling dope to our children. The police can come in our neighborhood, beat our children upside the head. They can shoot us and kill us. We have unsolved murders. And we just allow it to happen. And we all indigenous in here, all black, as they say, or Negro. That's one reason why I'm running for mayor. We as a council are supposed to be able to stop that. Somebody should be on these blocks, checking these blocks out. Because in these wars, we got our children in a war with these Europeans. Like Abbey Marsh, I went down there earlier to Abbey Marsh. They tell me, well, we don't even have a human resources department. But y'all getting $1 million contracts and ain't got a human resources department? You can come in here and just set up shop like you some gangsters. And get all our little money and drive on back to your houses. Then I see they have East Chicago, Indiana on the Abbey Marsh window. I used to go to college in East Chicago, Indiana. East Chicago, Indiana. At Ivy Tech, I was going to school to be a culinary arts. And at that same place, I hope Abbey Marsh got nothing to do with it, but in the same place, there was a whole apartment complex of indigenous people that the water was so bad they had to move all the people out, close the whole building down. They couldn't even walk on the grounds. The children couldn't, and they're sick to this day. We got a whole lot of problems. I hope I can work with you, all of you, whether I win or not. See, we all should be winning. Because right now, our children are losing. They ain't got no help. Thank you.
Mr. James Duncan.
Our children are losing, but so are the young adults. What do you want me to do?
Speaking to the microphone.
I'm talking loud enough, everybody hear me. Don't cut me off, I got 3 minutes, leave me alone. Don't bother me. I got a problem with a lot of things and I don't want it to be you. Did I get my minute back? Leave me alone. They cut the grass down on Riverview Drive at Mickey Yarborough Park. Looks good, looks great. We need porta potties down there. Whenever the weather gets like this, we need porta potties. I asked 3 weeks ago, they're not there, but I'm still trusting the process, putting faith in the process. I hope to see them there soon. For firing a black man, I ain't about that. I don't care who did it. I don't care what the reason was or nothing. We ain't find somebody else, somebody was not doing what they're supposed to do. We're gonna pick one black man out and fire him. Nah, I don't care who like that. I mean, we talk to be blue in the face, doing things and helping the Caucasian race out.
Right.
Amen. But when it comes to us and the things that we ask for, we drag our back ends for, I'll just put it that way. But we drag, and the citizens don't get what we ask for. I got a question, when the buoy's getting put up, I asked, they said, trust the process. So I'm trusting it, hoping that's gonna happen. I got 20 seconds. Anybody with not about the citizens, I mean totally about the citizens, don't look for my vote, don't look for my family to vote for you. Smile, grin, tell jokes all you like, it won't be you that my family will vote for. Thank you for my time.
That brings us to the next agenda item, which is the consent calendar. Are there any items that should be moved to, or from the consent calendar? The chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem C.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Adopt a resolution approving the land maintenance contract for 2019. Also, adopt a resolution confirming the appointment of Assistant City Manager. Also adopt a resolution approving the third closed surf agreement. And also adopt a resolution of resignation from the finance director. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Mobile food units, voting tabulators, and citywide cleanup.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Jones.
Amendment to Chapter 9, Animals and Fowls.
I believe that leaves us with one consent calendar item. I yield to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item before the commission is contract with F&B Operations, Services, and Resource Management. Recommendation that Mayor Muhammad and Ben Arbor City Commission approve contract with F&B Operations, Services, and Resource Management. Provide a water system distribution foreman for the city of Ben Arbor.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Adams, supported by Commissioner Peterson. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson. Yes. Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad,
Yes.
motion carried, Your Honor.
First separated item is amendment to the language in the City of Ben Arbor's Code of Ordinance, Chapter 9, Animals and Fowls, Section 9-1, 9-3, 9-4, 9-5, and 9-8. Recommendation is that Mayor Muhammad and Ben Arbor City Commission approve the amendment of the current language of Chapter 9 of the City of Ben Arbor's Code of Ordinance. Additionally, modifications will become effective upon publication and proper notice given to the general public.
Is there a motion for the approval?
Motion.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Seats, supported by Commissioner Isom. Discussion. Chair recognizes Commissioner Jones.
Just want to know what's the purpose of the amendments to this ordinance here, because what I'm looking at is a ton of strike throughs, especially in the section where it's about issuing license, permits rather.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Jones, the purpose of this document or the recommendation of amendment to this ordinance is the fact that we have a number of residents in this community that have complained about animals that are non-domesticated being in the community and that they are being allowed to run basically free. They're not for the purposes of farming, they're not for the purposes of any kind of merchant, but they are being kept as pets for lack of a better term. And so what this, if you look at the ordinance, if you go back and look at it the way it was written, it allows for bees, swine, foxes, goats, horses, mules, cattle, poultry, pigeons, rabbits, guinea pigs, or mink in the city. Again, the recommendation is that this language be stricken from the ordinance, and basically the only thing that would be allowed in the city would be those animals that are domesticated, as well as those that are being utilized for the purposes of farming. For example, if you have a beehive that is producing a product, then you would not be under this ordinance. If you have chickens that you are selling eggs from, you would not be impacted by this. But I don't think, unless someone can tell me different, that the desire is to have random animals running around in the community without any kind of, as a pet, or as a nuisance to neighbors that live in close proximity.
I was noticing bees were stricken out. I noticed the bees were stricken out.
Correct.
Right. So they are producing a product, it might be for the home, not necessarily for, look at it. People have their own terms of what a pet is. And so far in the city, I haven't seen goats and many other things around here. But bees do produce a product, several products.
Mr. Manager?
And according to state law, if you are producing a product, you would not be subject to this ordinance.
Right.
It's called the right to farm law at the state level. So if you are producing it and you can produce, and you can show that you are producing it, then there is no problem. But again, as I said, the issue that we're having is our code compliance personnel have talked to us about persons who are complaining about being woken up by chickens crowing in the morning.
So more or less, even though it's stricken out, it's implied if they can prove.
Correct.
So they're not, this is not going to them even though it's stricken out.
It's state law. We cannot legislate against state law.
All right. I'm just looking at the items that's stricken out. That's why I'm asking the question.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I am the chair of the legislative committee, and we have looked at this ordinance, and one of the concerns that the committee had as a whole was if people are using those for, as he stated, domestic purposes, for eggs, for eating, then they can keep those particular animals. The issue comes in is when people are using them as pets. Like you said, we can't legislate what people have as pets. So, and we had people complaining about crows waking them up because they weren't being used for food, not crows, I'm sorry, roosters waking people up because they were their pets, not necessarily being used for food. So those were some of the things that we discussed. So we are not discouraging people from growing their own food and using it. The issue was keeping certain animals as pets in the city because there are some people in the township that's right over the line, like he said, that has goats that are plowing through the land, eating up stuff, and so helping to keep whatever they're keeping. So we don't necessarily have that, but there are people who are doing so. So that's where this particular ordinance came in.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Season.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope soon, after you pass this legislation, that you put it in the newspaper and the media and the radio to let PetSmart and other people know, stop selling rabbits to city residents of Good Harbor or guinea pigs because they're selling them straight from the store. I mean, it's not a legal animal to have a guinea pig or a rabbit, but they're selling them straight from the store. Farm and Fleet, you can go out there and grab you some chickens, grab you a rabbit, grab you a guinea pig, whatever. I hope, you know, I know what we're going after, but I know there's plenty of houses that I go in and and see people who have guinea pigs for pets, little kids, and they have rabbits for pets and little kids. And I don't think they're doing. I'd rather have them say we don't want to have them catching rats and
they escape sometimes.
roaches and everything else and mice, but they selling them too. You know, you got people who are, believe it or not, you got people who take mice and raise rats in their houses. Like it or not, that's what they prefer, their preference. So, well, I will ask, I mean, you don't have trouble with that guinea pig, being that you can go right to Myers and buy your guinea pig, right to the pet store over there, PetSmart, and get your guinea pig or rabbit, you know. I mean, kids, people that use them as kids, pets, you know. You know, but I'm more worried about the daggone these dogs, man. That's the most dangerous thing. Somebody talking about they waking up to a crow, what they call them? They waking up to a rooster crow, a crow rooster. Anyway, they waking up. I ain't heard no cock crow in my neighborhood. But if they use them, then they gon'. I don't think nobody in Ben Harbor got no chicken that they ain't using for eggs. But I'm trying to figure out the reason why. That's the question to the chair. Why did they put guinea pigs in there? Being that they sell them at the store. You know, they got these sugar things that they selling around here that fly. And they have people house illegal animals in Indiana, everywhere else, that they selling them from Indiana. But I want to know, why did they put guinea pigs? Struck guinea pig?
Mm-hmm.
Well, took the guinea, or you just can't have pigs.
Correct.
I don't like that either, because I eat a lot of hair and all this. All right, thank you. What about the rabbits? What about the rabbits?
So,
Chair recognizes the city manager.
Commissioners, see, the thing about it is, people who get rabbits, they don't get them in droves. There's 1 or 2 rabbits that they get. But to have a rabbit farm is what we're looking at. There's nothing wrong with a domesticated animal that you go to the store and buy. The issue becomes, I don't think, and again, this is my recommendation, but I don't think the city wants cattle within its boundaries. You don't have any place that you can honestly raise cattle in the city, or pigs, or things of that nature, in a 50 by 125 lot.
We're gonna get to that point soon.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank y'all, man.
Chair recognizes Commissioner at Large Singleton.
Might save on the grass bill. Now you said that they could have certain, if they could prove that they farming them.
Correct.
Now, somebody can have a pig if they can prove they farming.
The state law allows for you to have animals under the Right to Farm Act if you use them for the purposes of to basically to sell them. So you can't just have a pig because you're gonna eat it. You see what I'm saying? You could have a pig if you were selling it to someone.
Do we have zoning ordinances that?
We don't have any agricultural zoning at all.
How long, Mayor, do you talk
But again, we didn't have agricultural zoning when the ordinance was written. But it allowed for, if you look at the totality of the ordinance, if you look at the part where it says, under the old one, under 9-4, applications for a permit required by section 9-3 shall be made to inspection, which shall transmit the same to the city building inspector and director of public works, who shall initiate an inspection of the premises where permission is desired to keep any such animal or animals, and forward their findings and recommendation to the city commission. On receiving such report, the city commission shall decide whether or not keeping of any such animals will cause annoyance or jeopardize the health and comfort of the inhabitants of the city or any of them. There should be paid an inspection department It should be paid to the inspection department. At the time the application is filed, the sum of $10 to partly recompense the city for the cost of inspection of the premises. And then it goes on to talk about what would revoke it. What the recommendation from the committee, what we talked at the committee, is to eliminate that completely. And again, if you can show that you are doing it and the state says you can do it, we can't stop it. So that's where we are. But if we can't, but again, you've got rogue, as Commissioner C said, you've got dogs, but you also have animals that are now not that are non-domesticated, starting to infiltrate into the city of Benton Harbor.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. I was not going to touch this, but after listening, I need to know, how is it determined, who determines whether a chicken is laying eggs that I'm going to use, sell, or just eating healthy, as opposed to a chicken that doesn't?
This meeting is recorded.
I know. I'm trying to weigh and measure the type of pets that we have today as opposed to pets that we had when we were coming up. I didn't know that pigs come in, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they crossbreeding or what, but there are some that don't grow that are really tiny that I think are very cute, that I'd rather have as opposed to a dog.
Commissioner Adams.
I mean, I'm just saying, how are we going to stop a child that wants a certain pet?
I want to keep us on
Okay,
task
I do too.
as it relates to the amendment to chapter
Okay,
9.
this is a question. I'm reminded of some children in a neighborhood in Flint that had a big geese. And they had this geese on a leash. He was a pet. And it was really cute in the community, in the neighborhood. All of the children around liked it, this geese. Big old thing. And he would walk and play with the kids and stuff. And are we banning that type of thing as pets?
Well, each commissioner has the right to vote their conscience.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I definitely don't want
That is
to
just too
suffocate anybody's comments, but I would hate to spend an hour on this particular item.
But that's why it's being debated. I mean, because we need questions answered.
I embrace debate, but we do have a large amount of other items.
Yeah.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Chair. Do I understand this right, that you can't have any of these animals, even, and the permit is not issued at all anymore? You just cannot have any of these animals unless they are products. They're producing something.
That is correct. That is the recommendation that we are putting forward, Commissioner.
So when my neighbors have chickens and they say they're doing eggs, they're legal. They don't have to get a permit. They just have chickens.
But they make the same type of noise.
I wish we could have some order from this council.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manager.
Commissioner Henry, again, what we're proposing is a way to somewhat curb the ability of just randomness in the community. I would hate for something to happen where a little kid looks at a chicken that's not restrained inside a fence and they get attacked. I would hate for something to happen where someone, again, gets into an altercation or something happens with an animal. Again, I mean, and I hear the jeers and the snickers, but again, if something were to happen in the city, and then they come down here and start talking about, pressing charges against the city, then we just take and go to court when we want, when we need to. Again, we're responding to complaints of an area, regarding in this instance, it was chickens. It was an issue with chickens. So again, this is a recommendation to the commission. What you do with it is your prerogative. Again, as we get complaints and we can address them, and we can attempt to address them, we will. If the commission so chooses not to, that's fine.
Call for the question.
I was just gonna make a motion to bring this back to committee and hammer it out a little bit better than what it is.
Commissioner Henderson called for the question. Madam Clerk.
Whoa, she in support,
Not to call for the question.
Yeah, you do.
So if she wants to take it, that's fine, they can send it back to public safety.
So what is going on now, everybody?
Support on this, call for the question.
Madam Clerk.
And he know that.
Calling the roll on actual item.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
No.
Wait,
No?
nobody supported.
The motion's already on the floor.
Whoa,
Commissioner
whoa,
Harrelson?
whoa.
Nobody supported.
Nobody supported the call for the question. Did you end debate?
She
I just
called for
asked
the
the mayor
question.
what.
But you have, with all due respect, Honorable Mayor, Robert's Rule of Order said we call for the question and need support. Did
That's
he
not
vote?
Robert's rules.
Okay. Can somebody explain what call for the question is? You need support.
You don't need support to call for the question.
So that automatically
You
end
can
debate?
debate.
Does that automatically end debate when she calls for the question?
When we call for the question, actually, Mayor, it is to close the debate and we need, support. But I asked you, was it on the actual resolution, and that's why I was calling the roll call.
You need
So do we
support.
need, so the motion is to close the debate, is that your intention, Commissioner Henderson?
Yes, let's close the debate and
We need
I
a
would say
support.
send it to, public safety.
We need support to close the debate, and then roll call.
Supported by Commissioner Isom.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Just to close the debate?
to close the debate.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
No.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
No.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Now this is on the actual item. Commissioner Jones,
No.
you voted to close the debate. Now we're voting on the actual item. Commissioner Harrelson,
No.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
No.
Commissioner Adams,
No.
Commissioner Singleton,
No.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Motion fails, Your Honor.
Next item is mobile food unit ordinance, adoption of mobile food unit into this, mobile food unit ordinance into the City of Ben Harbor's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 30.5. Recommendation of Mayor Muhammad and the Ben Harbor City Commission approves the addition of mobile food ordinance into the City of Ben Harbor's Code of Ordinances. This ordinance adoption shall become effective upon publication and proper notice given to the general public.
It's a motion for the
Motion to
approval.
approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Adams. Supported by Commissioner Isom. Discussion. Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. My first question, I guess, would be mobile food units. Are we talking about the food for events and that type of thing? Mobile food units?
Manager.
And if in fact, how does this affect the City of Benton Harbor residents that are trying to start their own business by way of a food service mobile unit or something, as opposed to what is already in place?
Mr. Manager.
Commissioner Adams, you talked about mobile units. This is specifically for mobile trucks, food trucks. What this does is, if you look at the exceptions to this, operating a mobile unit for a period of 2 days or less at city-owned properties, including city parks, subject to the approval, operating a mobile food unit for a period of 2 days or less, church, school properties conducted in conjunction with a special event at the church or school. The exemption shall apply to 3 special events per year, or veterans who have been issued a license by the county clerk pursuant to Public Act 359. There is a separate special event vending license. This is for those that are doing it on a day-to-day basis that are coming into the community.
Okay, with those that are doing it on a daily basis coming into the community, I'm sorry, I missed this meeting and I needed their rest. But how is it differentiated between, what are we doing? Are we charging them a fee or?
Yes, ma'am.
A larger fee, or we are?
Currently, your ordinance says that the fee for vending is $500 annually.
Mm-hmm.
We are gonna, again, as we talked in the committee, we will discuss the fees at Personnel Finance, which is coming up. The purpose of this is, Commissioner, right now, food trucks have gained a lot of popularity, and we don't have anything that basically identifies what they need to do as it relates to where they need to, how they need to vend and where they need to vend. So if a person wants to start a business, they can do that. That's fine. That's
Okay.
not restricting anybody from starting a business.
Okay, but say a person has.
Commissioner Adams,
Just
it's
for
not a
clarity.
back and forth, you
No,
answer
no,
a
just for-
question.
just
You
for
can get
clarity.
clarity, but you have to allow for him
He
to
did.
complete his statement.
He did.
Are you yielding the floor, Mr.? Have you finished, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, I'm done.
What I'd like to know, because when the community asks me, I want to be able to give them clear answer.
Read your packet.
If in fact, when one pays something annually and there are events going on, like the PGA, are they allowed to go a certain distance, or, I mean, how does something like that work?
For the PGA or just in general?
PGA and in general.
Okay, so in general, a person can vend if they have a mobile truck, and if you look at the definitions under here, operator should mean any person engaged in the business of sales from a mobile food unit. If more than one individual is operating a motorized and non-motorized vehicle, trailer, stand, cart, or other devices designated to be portable, then the operator should mean all individuals operating such motorized or non-motorized vehicle, trailer, stand, cart, or any other device to be portable. Again, this is not trying to limit anybody. It's just setting some guidelines as to what happens. The other part that you asked about the PGA specific, the PGA specifically has a vending agreement that they have with the PGA inside the ropes of the PGA.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. My question comes about there, number 8, where it says no banners, streamers, flags, flashing of blinking lights shall be permitted on any portion of the site where a mobile food unit is parked. So is that saying that the young man or woman cannot put out a banner to let you know who they are? Or at nighttime have any sort of flashing lights to let you know that they're there? Or blinking lights? I know at one point we had one of the most phenomenal food trucks over there on Broadway and Empire, JJ. It was selling burgers over there. And, you know, at night, you could have some lights just to let them know and just to let people know they're there. But banners is something for advertisement. I would think that if you put a banner on your food truck, just to let them know that you're there, I don't see a problem with having a banner up that's tied down, that's onto the building or the structure. I don't even have a problem with any flags, as long as it's not an appropriate flag. to let them know. I mean, you see them oftentimes in other cities, that they use banners or flags to let you know that this is their business, what they're offering, what they're selling. And the other part I want to ask a question on, Honorable Mayor, is the fire, number 9, the fire and electrical inspections of mobile fuel units shall be conducted by the appropriate city personnel. Is that included with the part they're going to be paying for the fee? Because when they do come and try to get a permit, is that covering the fire and, because it makes it specific, fire and electrical inspection was 2 different inspections. Are they going to be paying separately for the fire, separately for the electrical, and then separately for another, permit, which we are trying to bring jobs and motivate people to become self-sufficient and entrepreneurs. I don't want to prohibit that. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Mr. Manager.
So to answer your question, Commissioner, the permit fee that will be charged for this will cover all the inspections that are necessary. So it'll be all inclusive. If you read that number 8, it says no banners, streamers, flags, flashing, or blinking lights shall be permitted on any portion of the site where the mobile food unit is parked. It does not prohibit them from putting it on their own mobile food unit. So if you want to put a banner on the side of your unit, that's fine. You just can't stake and put stakes out in the middle of the park to advertise. You can put blinking lights on your truck to draw attention to it. That's fine. But you can't string up lights around the entirety of the park to draw attention to you. That we're restricting the advertisement and the drawing of the mobile unit to the unit itself.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Is there any way we can make that wording a little bit more specific? Because it says on any portion of the site where the mobile unit is parked. That says that right outside where it's parked, I can't stake me a banner or a flag or anything to say, sometimes they put a sign pointing that we're right here. Or anything saying that, when you got, it says here on any portion of the site where the mobile unit is being parked, I just don't want somebody getting a ticket in the future because we voted yes on something we thought was something different. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Mr. Manager, you have a response to that?
What we can say is no banner, streamers, flag, flashing, or blinking lights shall only be permitted on the mobile food unit. We can change that.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Jones.
On the food units, section 30.5-18, revocation.
What was it? I'm sorry.
30.5-18, revocation. I'm looking in the area, third sentence. Code compliance shall revoke the license of any operator of a mobile food unit who ceases to meet the requirements of this article, who commits fraud, misrepresentation, or make a false statement on the application or in the course of operating a mobile food unit, who is convicted of a felony or who creates a public nuisance or constitutes a danger to the public health, safety, and welfare. Call me a stickler, but I'm looking at who is convicted of a felony. Are we dealing with extenuating circumstances or just plain outright felonies?
Mr. Manager.
We can strike that. It's strictly about it's a felony, so we can strike that. That's fine.
The only exception that I would have, if it's with an ice cream truck, would the ice cream truck fall under this mobile?
Yes, sir.
So would it be appropriate, I wouldn't support it, if you had a pedophile registered sex offender operating.
He could be around kids. So he
No,
don't have
Well, who would know?
We
We
would.
supposed to.
How we supposed to be doing investigations? They put
And
an
I've seen,
application
in
right
my 9 years in office, I've seen a lot.
here. That means we slipping. But right here, it says
So,
it's application.
right, but what this does exactly is give us some rules, some regulations, some guidelines as who can operate a truck. And if this is approved, then it will address. But I do agree, Commissioner, with just a blanket felony. I think that we have to, this is my first time speaking, so I wish I could have the floor. To Commissioner or Mayor Pro Tem Seats, the definition, I think that we need to give some kind of context, a felony of some sort, whether it be CSC or something to where we can have some type of guideline there to protect the public. Mayor Pro Tem.
I totally agree, Honorable Mayor. I think that there are stipulations and their probation and their parole officers probably would not allow them to be working on the ice cream truck. But I have a big concern that you have with, I wouldn't want a guy who's been planting dope on black men and Benton Harbor being able to work on that truck either. Coming back and saying he's sorry, working on the truck and passing out hot dogs and coffee and everything else, who may cost the city millions of dollars. And still they came back to the city and said he was sorry. We went on Steve Harvey show and tried to get a kumbaya story. But let me move forward. I do agree with you, Honorable Mayor, that I think that we do need to put some kind of stipulations on people who will be operating. And I don't know if the proper language would be if they obtained a felony during them having a license. Because I know when it comes to our being a city official, if you obtain a felony while you're in office, you're automatically revoked. But I think they should do a background check on the guy. I mean, a guy should not be, be able to do something like that and come down here and sell ice cream cones, books, coffee, popcorn, hot dogs, Cheetos, and nothing else. I'm with you 100% Honorable Mayor on that. I promise you I am. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. I think we need to revisit this, to table this and put some wording together, because not everybody that has been accused of a crime is actually guilty. To call them a pedophile or whatever. And then there are some that are.
Right.
And I agree with Pro Tem Seats with the story that he shared. I can't support it as it is, but I think that we need to put the words right in here, because everybody, even somebody that has committed a crime, is just as entitled to a second chance as any other flesh and blood human being. I mean, I'm my father's child, what can I say?
Make a motion to table it, Honorable Mayor.
I second
Bring it back to committee. Thank you.
What committee, public safety?
Yeah.
Support.
It's supported already. Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Adams, this is to table the item. Commissioner Adams. To table this item and send it
Yes,
to
ma'am.
public safety.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Ison,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Manager.
Next item is a resignation of Finance Director. Recommendation that Mayor Muhammad, the Benton City Commission accepts the resignation of Finance Director Andy Clark. There should be a comprehensive search shall be conducted to to secure a finance director for the city of Benton Harbor.
So move.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Singleton, supported by Commissioner Henderson. I would caution the council that this is regarding the personnel matter, so please take that into consideration as we discuss this publicly. Mayor Pro Tem recognizes Commissioner Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I do appreciate you for acknowledgement. I would ask a question of the city. I would ask a question, matter of fact, the attorney. In order for us to accept this, is this something that later on we're not gonna have any legal ramifications? Number two, I never seen the letter. I heard about the letter and I read the newspaper. And then I need to know, part three, was the issues in the letter ever addressed? You know, we talked about another young man in another company who they said went by the book and all this, but I would want to see the letter if possible, and I want to make sure that we're not going to have any other legal ramifications. I know it was dated February 2019. I would expect that we already accepted it. But another point is, did he ever request to even have a day in court with us? You know, did he ever request to have a day in court with, or a closed session or a meeting with us? And have we even, most of these commissioners, have we even seen the letter? I can't vote on something I have not seen. And this is pretty big to say. I know we're going to the statutes of personnel matters and issues and not violating the rights of the individual, but I would like to see just a letter. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
City Attorney, would you like to?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have a copy of the finance director's resume. May I continue?
Please.
Thank you. I don't have with me a copy of what is purported to be the resignation of the finance director. I do know that I saw that. I thought it was clearly indicated to be a resignation, so I'd be happy to review it again. But in answer to Commissioner Seats' question, I believe if it is a resignation, the council can act upon a resignation by the finance director, and that should not cause any type of civil liability.
To the mayor, you don't have a copy of that?
No, I've seen a copy. I don't have a copy with me. I don't believe it was provided as part of the packet.
An alleged copy. It was not addressed to you.
No, Your Honor, it was not. I saw it well after the fact.
Was it emailed to you?
From the finance director, Your Honor?
Yes.
No, sir. It was, I believe I saw a copy of it because the city manager obtained a copy from, maybe it was Commissioner Singleton or something. That's my recollection. It's been 2 or 3 weeks ago, Your Honor. It's been quite some time.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Vice Chair of Personnel Finance, Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. It was reported basically for discussion. There is some serious concerns, and just as you can see now, you know, there's folks who are saying they, you know, didn't receive copies, and there's concerns about, you know, allegations in what was in the copy. And then the attorney said he don't, you know, he didn't see anything, so it really is hard to make, you know, some type of decision, you know, to accept it or not when, you know, like the Mayor approach him, if I haven't seen anything, I wouldn't wanna, you know.
Have you seen the letter?
vote it. I have seen.
How did you receive the letter?
The letter was emailed to me, and a copy, I forwarded off to you. It was addressed to.
What you forwarded to me was no attachment.
It was the actual letter that, what was sent to me, I sent it to you.
There was no attachment.
What attachment was,
So when somebody has an attachment, that's a part of the email.
you didn't see a letter.
There was no attachment.
You didn't see the letter, that's what you're saying.
No, not from the email. I received something or read something that I guess you provided to the manager that was supposed to be a copy of what the finance director wrote.
So you did see something that possibly came from him?
Possibly, but I have not received anything officially, a phone call, a letter directed to me from the finance director. It was third party, Drew, you, the manager, and I got it. But what's in front of the city council as well is there is a vacancy.
We debating.
No, I'm speaking.
Okay,
Go ahead. Pardon me.
You said there's a vacancy, but, you know, you have to either, the letter of resignation, we don't accept that, there's really no vacancy. We need to deal with the resignation one way or the other before you can say that there's a vacancy there. So, yeah, I can't, I wouldn't be able to, support accepting resignation unless, because that is a commission employee, and I think all the commissioners do, need to have what could be considered a official copy, somebody maybe reach out to the guy if you want to offer an official one, or, the email thing don't work, so, we've had problems with emails before. Some folks get it, some folks don't. What was sent to me, it had all the commissioners' name on it. It was addressed to all the commissioners. So whether they didn't get it or not, I don't know. That ain't been the so,
The email was sent to you?
One was sent to me, it was addressed to all the commissioners, so I figured maybe they sent it to all the names was on it. Maybe I got one just like everybody else, but if that didn't happen, then that's a problem.
That's right.
Did any other council member receive an email as it relates to the letter? Has any other council member spoken with the finance director?
Uh-oh. Here you go.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Isom.
Yes, at the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting, we discussed having an investigation and communicating with Mr. Clark, in which I did reach out to him, and he said he had some, and he did resign, and he said he had some misconceptions about different ways things are handled in the finance department, and so he resigned.
So he did offer a letter of resignation?
Yes. If you want me to reach out to him to give a full letter and make sure everybody.
I mean, has he stopped coming to work?
Keep it, no call, no show.
So when did he stop, I'll ask the manager, when did he stop reporting to work?
In February of this year. Yeah, February of this year. Which was about the time that the letter, the date of the letter.
I wish we could just get some order from the council, please. I recognize everybody, the manager has the floor.
So the letter came out, I believe, around February the 22nd-ish. And Mr. Mr. Clark has not shown up back to work at all since then.
Some strange.
Yeah, have it investigated.
When it was revealed or was brought to the attention of the Personnel Finance Committee in March, and then subsequently a follow-up conversation was had in April. And then at that time, Chairperson Isom stated that he had talked to him and that Mr. Clark had resigned. And at the direction of the committee at that time was, he resigned, let's move forward.
Have it investigated. Investigated.
So until, because it's just, you know, I would,
Investigated.
you know, it's important that we have that office. I mean, it may not technically be vacated, but somebody's showing up to work.
They know what's happening.
That's vacated because the office is empty. Nobody is working in that capacity as a finance director. So I think it's by charter the duty of this council to hire that position. Ms. Kennard, all due respect, could you please respect the local government? You had time to speak during your comments, and I listened.
You need to be thorough though.
I'm asking you to respect.
Elbow tied.
So, this body is charged with hiring a finance director, and at this time, we don't have one. So, if it's the body's pleasure to do some investigation, try to go after somebody, find this out, find that out, well, we have nobody working, that I don't think is in the best interest of the city, and I don't think is in the best interest of the residents. Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Chair. I did read his letter, and I found that it was some very disheartening comments he made about how things were in the department. And I'm ready to accept his resignation and to move on, but I do want to, he brought out a lot of issues and problems, and they need to be fixed.
Allegedly.
We'll say allegedly. He brought out some problems. But we need to verify, we need to fix it if there is a problem. And I think that's one reason why it's just been lingering around, because it could be a hairy thing, some of the things that he was saying that was happening to him. And this body needs to fix it.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Harrelson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say, I was the chair when we hired Mr. Clark. We thought he was capable of doing a job. And if he quit for a reason, I think each one of these commissioners should have a letter, not one or two, because it's important to know why. We hired somebody that we thought could do the job and end up with nobody. The finance department doesn't have anybody, so who's taking care of finance right now? We studied voting on it, so who's taking care of it? I would like to know.
Chair,
I can't support this.
the chair recognizes the manager.
Commissioner Harrelson, we had worked with Mr. Clark and asked him several times how much time did we need to have Plant Moran around to help him transition. Plant Moran was at that time, back earlier this year, the young lady who has been helping us since Jody left, was actually diminishing her time here. And so once he left and walked off the job and submitted his letter, she came back and started working as she had been prior to Mr. Clark being hired. She never left. She was just reduced in her duties, and that was a conversation that was had with Mr. Clark, who asked that she stay around. But luckily she did stay around, because if not, we would have nobody in place.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. Due to what I received that our finance director allegedly sent to us, and since all of this was allegedly something that was sent, its content reminded me of some things that the director before him stated. And see, the residents of Ben Harbor just need to know the truth.
That's right.
And I'm the chick that's gonna give it to you. I will not, cannot support his resignation because he was the best that has come through here yet. I don't have a degree in finances or any of that. My comprehensive level may not be as high as some others. But this man was able to hear me during committee meetings to put things in depth and in detail to where a child could understand it. Okay? It disturbs me that he was ran off. I got a problem with that. And I want to hear from Mr. Clark himself. And my greatest fear when he came in here and we made it clear to him who his bosses were, I wish that he had addressed each and every last one of us personally. And to this day, I would still like to hear from our finance director. I'm not going to support putting out an RFP, not for this position. And I will not. What I would like is to hear from Mr. Clark, our finance director himself, if we have to subpoena him. Because this community deserves the truth. And we need to backtrack and take a look at where we've come from to where we ended up now and see who was over finances when the emergency management took place. Okay? Research. And with that being said, I will not support his resignation.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Sales.
Yeah, and that's why it was really brought up, and this discussion needed to happen, because you put out RFP and you get another one, and then we already knocked down 2 of them, and you get another one without addressing the concerns of why the other 2 left. You get a 3rd one, and then we'll have a 3rd one that we'll be back at this again. So we really need to exhaust those concerns, whether they turn out to be substantiated or not. They need to be addressed, and so when we don't go through this thing again, let's really be clear about it. The administration wanted, the contracted firm, and really didn't, want a finance director, but the commission seen that it was time to hire a finance director to try to get the government back in line to ask what the charter said. And I knew the guy, whoever came in the position was gonna have a really tough time. You can tell that attitude, I guess, changed that. You know, the commission has its employees, and you know, everybody else falls up under the manager. So I believe before we really put another person in that position, we need to exhaust those complaints, because some of the same complaints was made by the previous person, from what I was told. So
What you was told. Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I'd just like to say, with this particular finance director, I remember us, when he actually came in and we did the interview for this gentleman, and there was somebody else also for this position. He actually wasn't selected by this commission. So we brought him back in, I think, and he was elected because we voted down the first person that this particular commission had chosen as our finance director, if I can actually remember. But I remember supporting him. I didn't necessarily like his interview. He was really very boring and very uninteresting, but I felt like he knew what he was talking about when we interviewed him. So I was a huge supporter of this particular gentleman that we hired and that we interviewed. But if I can remember, he was sent off and we brought him back a second time for an interview, and he later got the job because this commission was going to hire somebody who was even more unqualified for that particular job, if I can remember. Pretty much, if I can remember very well, and I can, it was a very unqualified person who sat there that this commission voted for, many who have spoken on tonight. So I'm saying all of that to say this. This man walked off the job after being told by several commissioners, if you have any issues, come and talk to us about those issues. And if I can remember, at that particular committee meeting, he didn't even have the courtesy or the decency to reach out to anybody on this commission before walking off the job. And if I'm hearing correctly, our commission is saying that we need to exhaust more resources, more time to go investigate why this man walked off the job after being given a second chance to come and take this position. I think that's what I'm hearing, but I just need to correct this. So we're going to go investigate why a gentleman walked off a job where he had an opportunity to express himself to anybody sitting on this commission, and he chose not to, but chose to put it in a letter that he sent to specific people addressing issues and concerns that he's had. I watched him present in committee meetings. He was completely lost on what he was supposed to be doing. Because I asked him specifically, I said, Mr. Andrews, do you have questions or something that you need answered about what you're doing? I said, because I don't feel confident in your report because you seem like you don't know. You keep reverting to the city manager for your answers. He could not answer a single question. If I'm the city finance department person, if I have to sign off on numbers, I'm going to know that budget back and forth, sideways, left, right, front. I don't care who the city manager is. And I'll be able to back up those claims. I remember there was a lady sitting here that was good. So he wasn't the best city finance director that we've had, but I thought he would have been a good one. And he did not have a clue what was going on. And when you asked him specific things, because I would ask him specific things, he could not tell you those specific things. Yeah, we can say the manager, whoever prevented whatever, but he had an opportunity to express any concerns. He chose not to. He did not. He walked off the job, did not talk to anybody that could have helped him. Send it in an email. And we're going to exhaust more resources talking to this gentleman, going to ask him why he quit.
Please do.
I support his resignation, and if he had not wanted to quit, he wouldn't have walked off a job. And I think that is a waste of taxpayers' money to go after somebody who don't want to be here. Talking about a slap in the face, that's a slap in the face.
If I'm held responsible for money,
thank you,
Mr. Haywood.
I would
Lee,
walk away
you're
too.
not on the city council, sir. You do not have the floor to just speak like that.
Office. Present that F1 card.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. At this point, meeting like this, if I'm reading this alleged letter correct, I'd have ran too. It looked like he was saying either I'm gonna run or go to jail.
Whoa.
I don't, well, you can read it for yourself if you haven't read that. And if this is a alleged letter, I wanna get the real letter. I wasn't talking while nobody else was talking. I had my hand raised. Reading this alleged letter, which is supposedly alleged letter, there's some definite issues in what he said. And being locked out of certain systems and things not being turned over and sightings that I haven't even heard of from the state of Michigan. So if this is not important, then I need to revert my mind back to when we've had a prior city manager by the name of Richard Marsh, who turned us over to the state, and the state deemed us not in compliance, and then we became a victim of emergency management law. So anytime somebody begins to give us sightings that has the state of Michigan on it, I don't want to fan my tail at them. I want to make sure that what they're saying is not true. Then on the backdrop of this, what I'm looking at now, this is not just a letter to the city. This is on the state's website. These sightings is on the state website. So I don't want to just be talking and not knowing that these issues have not been addressed. These findings. That's what the key word is, findings. If he's lying, then it's one thing. But if it's truth, then it's another. And if he left because he could not get the findings fixed for us under compliance, and it had some things to do, I'm not going to go into that, it had some things to do with the income tax that we're getting in now from the city residents. So if this letter is alleged, I want to make sure it's alleged, but I hate to have my name on something and don't get it.
Okay.
And then I hate the other fact is because we, as my beloved lady had said back in the day when we were young, fiery politicians, it's called the coup d'etat. It's the coup d'etat that we was messing with. But this looks like, this is a slippery slope here because, and I'm going to say this and I'm done. For us to sit around here and smirk and frown face to the city commission and all that, there's a lot of employees do that crap. And if they do it to their bosses, how do you think they treat the residents?
Whoa.
Some people were down here last week to pay their water bill and wasn't nobody even down there.
Wow.
And we acting like we don't have no real issues. Like we perfected in this game called government and business. So let us make sure we understand that the residents are the real bosses.
All right.
And we just the managers. So if this letter is, if for me to do it, it's not going to cost you a dime to investigate because we ain't calling no special meeting. But I want to make sure this letter came from this man, and I want to make sure the findings have been found out and been incorrect. But if the findings are correct, then we have a problem.
That's right.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Thank you.
Was that letter, how did you receive that letter, I should ask?
I just got it in my hand right here. It's a alleged letter. In my hand today from, it's been passing around this table, that's why I want to
So
know.
we're talking about, we spending 45 minutes
Now let's table it.
on a chain letter.
Spent that much time on
Was the
it.
letter signed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Ooh, with website of 6 days.
Is the letter signed?
Yes, sir, Honorable Mayor.
And it was addressed to who?
All us.
And who got it?
Personnel and Finance Committee members. Did it go to the right people?
My name is on it. It wasn't addressed. It wasn't sent.
He probably had assurance, Honorable Mayor, that you would get trusting those that you placed on that committee.
Well, if it's a letter addressed to me, then I would like it sent to me.
I make a motion to table it.
So I will speak, you know, it seems to me as if this body is chasing after, you know, like a man or woman chasing after somebody who don't want them.
Yeah.
That's not good. From my understanding, the week of payroll, he walked out, and we had to have Plant Moran rush in here just so the city staff can get paid.
They should have been on the payroll with them getting nowhere.
I asked Mr. Clark, how long should we budget for Plant Moran? This is public information. How should they be working 4 days a week, 3 days a week, 2 days a week? When do you think they should be phased out?
He's not here.
You've had the floor, Commissioner.
You can't eat it, that's not a fact.
So, from his own recommendation, he stated that Plant Moran was doing a great job. There were many things that had to be transitioned, things that he needed to learn, so they remained on board. And I'm glad that they did. And I do also echo Commissioner Henderson. I can remember his name was not recommended by this body to be the finance director. He was not recommended by this body. This body selected somebody else. And that person was voted down.
I'm opposed.
And then he was brought back and he was hired. So some of the same people fighting and saying how great he was, you didn't even recommend or vote for him to be the director. But anyhow, whether we want to accept it or not, that's up to the majority of this body. But I will remind us of our duty, fiduciary duty, that we are to hire a finance director who will come to work and who will work through issues and problems that all governments have. Everybody has spoken. I call for the question.
This is on the actual item.
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
No.
Commissioner Henderson. Yes. Commissioner Adams,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
No.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson,
No.
Commissioner Jones,
No.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Motion fails, Your Honor.
Next is the purchase of voting tabulator from Dominion Voting. Recommendation that City Commission approves the purchase of voting tabulator from Dominion Voting in the amount of $5,295.
Is there a motion for the approval? Motion made by Commissioner Adams, supported by Commissioner Henderson. Discussion. Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
I remember asking a couple of questions, but since then, I've been watching some things happening national with tabulators. And just for clarity, the chair to the city clerk, this is a grant that's paying for this?
Not for this purchase.
Not for this purchase?
No.
We, the city, are paying for this, then I will not support it because the ones that we got last year, see, we have to understand we just changed arms from a Republican governor to a Democratic one. And it makes all the difference in the world with what we've incurred and a lot of other predominantly black communities, Flint being number one, some wrongs that need to be made right. These tabulators came up prior to a new governorship. And there's some things going on nationally of new tabulators, and we know that we just come out of, or we've been mandatoried to death for, with redistricting.
Mandatory?
Whatever. That's right. Figure it out.
Go on, sir.
I'll hold that degree. But anyway, I think that it would do us good to just hold off. Just hold off and see what's going on nationally, because they are looking at some new machines that they say we will be able, I think, to use the body of the ones that exist now, and they will be able to replace them. You can type your name in with these new tabulators that they're about to work on a national level. I don't know, I don't trust none of them. I wish we could just do it all paper. For us to have to come out of pocket, no. I think we come out of pocket for a whole lot, but we can't never find anything to actually physically and something that you can see that's tangible to give to the residents. Thank you.
Is there any other comments? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Henderson? Yes. Commissioner Isom?
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Adams?
No.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats?
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad?
Yes.
Motion carries, Your Honor.
Next is to approve the lawn maintenance proposals for the city of Benton Harbor for 2019. Recommendation that Mayor Muhammad and Benton Harbor City Commission authorize city manager to enter into contracts with Hadley and Sons LLC, Alvin's Lawn Care Service Company, Jenkins Lawn and Landscaping, and Jack Campbell's Maintenance and Lawn Care Service for lawn maintenance in the city of Benton Harbor for 2019 season.
Motion to approve.
Motion is made by Commissioner Adams and it is supported by Mayor Pro Tem Seats. Discussion. Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I want to kind of make this kind of short and sweet. Thank you, appreciate that.
Sweet.
It was last season, it looked like somebody was getting kind of fat off the cat. And I want to make sure that this is divvied up right. I want to make sure that it's cut into sections. There was some people who was only getting paid like $200 a month, $300 a month, and we had checks of like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. That was going out to other landscapers. And I wanted to make sure that during the committee meeting, that the same thing happened last year will not happen this year. But I'm already seeing some of the same trends and behaviors that are happening with that amount we already paid out for the landscaper. And I want to make sure that I put this on record. And I want us as a body to make sure that it's divvied up right. These are all three minority contractors, I believe, and all three of them deserve work. And I don't want to see them just running over trash and paper and sticks and leaving that stuff in their yard. They're to clean that stuff up. And, the day of somebody riding a lawnmower down the street like Indy 500 and just going and cutting the grass and leaving the trash there, it's over. We're paying good money. And if we're paying some of the contractors $5,000, $6,000 a month, and last year one of them was we agreed to was almost $7,000. I don't know how we cut that much grass in a month. And maybe that was the problem with the finance director when he asked to investigate that.
That's right.
There was an investigation done on that. The supporter of court said, but he said the only thing he did was just pay the bill on the amount that was sent to him. But I want to make sure everybody is treated equally. And everybody get an equal amount of work, not this game of emergency. Because we got contractors who are not getting work in Benton Harbor because We got people say, I don't wanna deal with them because the last time I dealt with them, they didn't do me right. And this is not your personal money. This is the city money. And anything over a certain amount of money is to come before the council. So I asked of this commission that we make sure that everybody is treated equally on this.
And how will we do that, Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, it's easy to set up right here. Man, let me give that to you right quick.
How many lots is it?
Right here.
Lots, even them out.
Yeah, right here it says that, where is that? There you go. It says that for parks, one price, city-owned lots, another price. And it gives the parks prices and who was awarded what. Then automatically one person is getting all the city property, which you can see that right there. Which is a certain amount. Which that already done. I don't understand how that piece of property is a $600 lot. And we already paid $900 for it. But, man, that's the way to do it. If we give everybody a certain amount of lots, give this person 50 lots, give the next person 50 lots, give the next person 50 lots, and then give the other person some of the parks. But the day of having people getting fat off the calf, one contractor was bragging, saying he made $80,000 off the city last year. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
For cutting grass. Or 66,000, I'm sorry. 66,000. $66,000. And I want to add it up because I've seen bills we paid for $7,000, $8,000.
Okay.
So if they made $50,000, one contractor made $5,000, we still in the wrong.
Yeah.
So let's even it out. Ask the body again that we make sure everybody gets their piece of the lots, the piece of the parks,
So,
So you're gonna amend?
so are you saying that the city council should decide?
Evidently.
Honorable Mayor, this contract is well over $5,000.
Right, I understand that.
Well,
But in terms of the administration and the management of the grass cutting, is this body, do we have the authority to decide what contractor gets? I know we, we have to abide by laws too.
exactly.
Or whoever just blurting out, but are we outside of our role from the city charter in terms of management as it relates to how the lots are, in your words, divvied up?
Honorable Mayor, with all due respect, this is one of the only times that we have opportunity to make sure that our people are employed and also get the right amount of money. I ask again that we have the ability to make sure that we're voting to give all three of these contractors right now a contract.
So we do vote to award the contract.
Okay, but what
how the contract is managed, do we have that authority?
All right, Honorable Mayor, if I can get this 2 minutes real quick. Honorable Mayor,
You've got 8 minutes.
thank you, Honorable Mayor. Look,
Point of order.
what needs to happen is, again, this is not go by your favorite contractor. If you have 3 people who have contracts, do not disqualify somebody just because you don't like them. And that's what has happened. We had contractors we had contracts with who sometimes didn't get no work at all.
No.
And you had contractors that was backed up, who was working all day long, couldn't even keep up. And then you calling people, hold on, you gave me the floor, Honorable Mayor, and I but you done cut me off 3 times. I can't.
Because I have to, because you keep going on and on and on and on.
I do apologize, Honorable Mayor, but we do need to make sure that one contractor does not get all the money that another contractor sitting at home with the equipment to do the job and not getting work.
You're right.
Who hires minorities
You're right.
in your community.
You're right.
Because we giving millions of dollars, people ain't hiring not one black person.
That's right.
That's not what's in front of us, Commissioner. This is our request for proposal, and these particular, you have Hadley and Sons, LLC, Alvin's Lawn Care Service Company, Jenkins Lawn and Landscaping LLC, and Jack Campbell's maintenance and lawn care service. So all these people will be, if this council awards them the bid, that's our role. Now, I think that we can use our voice to say to the manager or whomever is going to manage the contract our desires. We can do that, and we should do that. So what you're saying, I definitely hear and respect. But there's a line between approving and awarding the contract and then managing the contract. There is a difference. Mr. Manager.
Thank you. I respect what the commissioners have said. However, if a person tells you that I'm gonna cut a lawn and it's gonna cost you $60, and a person tells you I cut a lawn for $20, you're gonna give them both the same amount. The one that's charging you $60 is gonna make more money. So, again, I would appreciate.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So, as the manager, for all that know what, have an idea of what you're responsible for doing, you're responsible for making sure the job gets done, as well as making sure that you don't expend more money than you have. So if you're saying just split them up regardless of what the person submitted as a cost, just split them up, then we're gonna spend more money. The total last year for cutting the whole season was $66,000. That wasn't one person. That was not one person. That was several people from last year. We brought that to. Harborside had nothing to do with it because they weren't contracted by the city. They were contracted by the conservatives. So again, people are speaking out about things outside of the commission that don't have anything to do with what's going on here. But it's in the atmosphere, so it can create confusion.
So we can hear the right.
Again, I would ask respectfully that, please, thank you, appreciate it. But again, if you can get the job done for half the price, you're saying don't do that. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm hearing? That's all I want to know. Because if someone says I'll do it for $5,000 and somebody says I'll do it for $2,000, you're saying don't disregard that and just go with the $5,000, go with the $2,000, give them equal, and then just spend the money. That's what I'm hearing.
What kind of work you get done?
Again, I'm sorry, that's not my position. But again, people are just blurting out. That have absolutely nothing to do with this.
Everybody been out frustrated.
Even the ones that don't live in this community.
Mr. Manager, thank you for your response. Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
When this came through committee, we had a large conversation because I've watched it, I've recorded it throughout this city. I'm not trying to bust anybody out to keep anybody from feeding their face. But if you cutting grass and you have the equipment to do so, but you leaving a mess. We trying to clean up a mess. But you leaving a mess, but you want to be paid. And then we have some others that, it's just like what I charge for a hairstyle. They pay for quality. We all pay for quality of the things we want in this world. And right now, we may not have it like that, but if it done got to be like that with all these beautiful homes still going up, tax-based building, we should be able to at least afford to do better with the trash as well as the grass. Trash and grass. If this city would work with folks doing the right thing, we could be on a better level playing field with one another instead of creating more chaos. I would just ask, and I'm shocked, I don't know how we can do it, but it needs to be done. Fair is fair. If somebody actually moving forward next year, I think that we need to be, whoever committee it comes through, check the equipment out, and if they don't even have the right equipment to clean up behind themselves as they cut, should not be awarded anything. How about that?
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mayor. Just real quick on this item, and this was debated feverishly during that committee. I think one of the contractors was there as well as we talked about this particular item. And as Commissioner Seats expressed his concerns as he did then, I think the onus is on the commission to have rules set in place whereby contractors follow those rules. And I think Mr. Hadley got up and he talked about the cost of mowing grass, because people think it's just a simple process. You're cutting grass, you're not really expensing a lot of money, but there is a price to pay to clean up for cutting grass with gas and employees and the amount of time that you expense doing those lots. So he actually gave some insight on what it cost him to actually do grass in the city. I don't agree with paying the same price to everybody. The purpose of this is competitive bidding. An RFP goes out and the people who submit the lowest bid, and last year and this year, they all happen to be quote unquote minority contractors. If people have an issue with the contractors that keep submitting, then let's create some rules around what we want to see when it's time to clean up. As I think Mr. Hadley talked about, somebody mentioned taking pictures after he finished doing. He said, I can't do that after every job. That's what the inspections department is to do, to go out and take pictures before he said before he gets any money, somebody comes out, verifies his work, and then he gets paid. That's the process. So there is one already in place if we're utilizing that process. But I do not agree with if there's an RFP that goes out, people submit the lowest bid, and that's how we are to do business. We cannot continue to be lawless when it fits our needs. We need to continue. We talk about processes, but as soon as something crawls up the wrong way, we want to change the process to fit what we want to happen, and we can't continue to do that. Create laws and rules as we go along. Change the committee rules. Change this. Let's do this or do that when it fits us. We have to be consistent and continue to do the things that we're doing to help the city move forward. I agree with the mayor. Sometimes people says things to inflame the crowd, to inflame people, to create chaos and misconception and confusion about what's happening. We are not confused about what's happening or what needs to happen. We need to clean up the city. The city needs to be cleaned up. We have an issue with trash and grass, as was stated. But there is a process in place, and we need to hold people responsible. But there is a process, so our job as commissioners is to make sure that process is followed, making sure that people are following up on the lots that they cut, and that they have actually done that work. But I think that process is in place, so I really am having a difficult time understanding why we're saying that we're not going to do an RFP, we're just going to split up the lots unless we're going to lower the price and offer the same low price for every lot that we need to be cut. Thank you.
Thank you. So, this is an RFP, right, that we're approving?
Everybody gets marked into it. There was an RFP that went out, and these were the respondents to the RFP.
These are the people who responded.
Yes, sir.
So what's before this commission is to award these people
Correct. Contracts to do the work.
contracts to do this work.
Based on the amount of money that they submitted.
Is there anybody that has a comment as it relates to awarding these contractors that submitted for proposal? Commissioner Henry.
I just need a clarity. We got 4 applicants. Are we, and from an RFP, and then are we taking the lowest bid? Are we giving them all some? What exactly is this supposed to do? We're taking the lowest bid?
Manager.
Commissioner Henry, that was the recommendation. but that's why I was asking for clarity during the debate. What I'm hearing is that we're not looking at the price. We're just saying divvy up the work. Because what we traditionally do is give those that bid on the specific item that we ask. The one that gives the lowest bid is the ones that we basically reward the contract to for that purpose. That's what traditionally happens in an RFP process.
And what this body is legally authorized to do is award those who are in here in this particular, who requested, who responded to the RFP, pardon me. So only these persons can actually submit bids to cut grass.
Those are the only ones that submitted bids to cut grass. It was open for everyone.
Right, so these people responded, so the vote tonight would allow for the city to enter into contract
with all four.
With all four.
Yes, sir.
And then in all four of these contractors, so if it's a lot, this hill up here that needs a lot of grass, they would submit
a charge for that, how much they would charge to do that. Yes,
to
sir.
your office.
Correct.
And then you would decide based upon what's submitted, who that lot would be awarded to.
Correct.
Okay. And that's based upon largely on either largest or smallest or bid.
It's based on the ability to do the job at the most, the price that is they bid.
That's gonna save the citizen the most money.
Correct.
Is everybody we clear on that? Mr. Manager.
As the mayor just said, what this does is allows the job to be done at the most reasonable price so that it's not coming out of the residents who pay the bills for this through taxes and other things. So you're managing to make sure that you do not expend more money than you got.
But we're approving these four.
Correct.
To be a part of that process.
That is correct.
Are these all minority contractors?
All of them but one.
Are they local?
All of them but one. One is in Alker, the other ones are in our community.
49022.
49022.
But by law, we can't exclude anybody.
Absolutely, you can.
From proposing.
That is correct.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Real quickly, one of them says $30 to cut the grass. The other one says plus $30 for trash removal. That's $60. One of them has another one for another price with city lots. They don't even want to cut the parks. I'm trying to figure out how in the world can somebody be $20 to $15 less than anybody else on city-owned property, and then that automatically gives you all the city lots. So I understand we're saying here vote to pacify in public.
It's not in, who said vote to pacify?
Oh man, I didn't say nothing. Nobody else said nothing.
But you just throwing out allegations and falsehoods. That's not true.
If
Nobody said vote to pacify.
If you let me finish, I'll finish my statement. But
Well, speak truth.
I'll clarify that, Mr. Honorable Mayor. I'll clarify that for you, sir. When you say that we're giving them all work, but when it comes down to it, I'm gonna save money and get the one that's the cheapest. You're really not giving everybody work. So pacify means I tell you tonight I'm giving you a contract. But when it comes to writing the check, you ain't getting the doggone thing. And that's what happened in the past. And I'm telling you, it's getting ready to happen now. But we should all ask Director Clark to arrest all of us for charging the city residents $200 for getting their grass cut. And then paying somebody $25 and talking about we doing the just for the resident. Let's talk about that tonight.
You want to get way off topic, way off.
He said it costs the residents money. And we trying to save the residents money by getting the cheapest one to cut and you charging them $200 for not cutting their grass.
If they cut their grass, then we won't have to. That's where the problem is. Cut your grass. Then the city don't have to cut it.
Elders too.
So again, what's before this body is awarding the request for proposal for those who responded. City council does not have the authority to manage. That's not our role. By charter. So we can't approve the contract or the request for proposal and then turn around and make decisions on who gets the money and who gets the work. We cannot do that as a body legally.
You just bring it in-house. That's what he had.
So that's what I can't support. Because that's not legal. To approve the contract and then decide who gets money and who gets the contract, we cannot do that. That's another problem. So, it's again before this body to approve or disapprove. But the grass is still growing.
Jack still cut.
I hope this is personal. Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
I think, someone been missing along the way, but I think what everybody's really just asking that it be fair, and so the onus is on the manager, and we just asking that if it's, apples to apples, if it's that if it's a $20 lot or $40 lot, if it's this person that got this one time, and if the next person is the same price or whatever, let's move on to the next one. We just don't want to see one person,
I think that's not only intelligent, Commissioner Singleton, but that's fair.
So we'll ask you for it to be fair. So.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson. Yes. Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yep.
Commissioner Adams, Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous.
Next is confirmation of Assistant City Manager that Mayor Muhammad and the Benton City Commission confirmed appointing the Tracy Ann Jennings as Assistant City Manager.
Is there a motion for the approval? Motion made by Commissioner Henderson, supported by Commissioner Adams. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Call for the question.
Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
No.
Commissioner Henderson. No. Commissioner Jones,
No.
Commissioner Isom,
No.
Commissioner Adams,
No.
Commissioner Harrelson,
No.
Commissioner Singleton,
No.
Commissioner Henry,
No.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous.
Next is support for citywide cleanup that Mayor Muhammad and the Benton City Commission approved supporting the citywide cleanup, community-wide cleanup, sponsored by James Jackson to commence on May 11, 2019 and continue through the summer months.
Motion approved.
Motion made by Commissioner Adams, supported by Commissioner Henderson. Discussion. Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. I guess I was surprised when I saw this on the agenda. All we gotta do is clean up. It's been all over the news. But if somebody gotta have the limelight for it, why not? But my question is, to this city, does it hold us liable for anything with the city playing a major part in passing a resolution if somebody gets hurt or what have you in their involvement? I just asked. Cause I mean, I'm just reminded of, it was 7, 8 years ago when we had a bunch of youth come through and we were all over the place doing stuff and cleaning, as well as some other city residents, Miss Kennard even, the whole May Street. It didn't take all this, but does it carry some type of liability? Just ask.
City attorney.
I do not believe this would create any liability on behalf of the city, Your Honor, for city residents to clean up portions of the city that they feel that they want to do. We've had presentations in the past from public members that go down to the parks and say they cleaned up cans and pots and bottles and things like that. So, no, I don't believe there is any liability.
Don't believe.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. And for clarity, this is Mr. Jackson. So it's great, one of the young residents in the city that decided to do this cleanup, and then talking with him, he's so excited about doing this particular citywide cleanup. So he wanted to, I think he sent this to public safety, and so this was something he wanted to do. And so we definitely support Mr. Jackson in his efforts and wanting to clean up the city. This is, like I said, another young resident who is excited about helping and getting in with cleaning up the city. So of course, this city will support that, and we should recognize it because this is, again, one of our young people who lives in the city who's got other young people to actually participate in this cleanup. So we're very, very excited about that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It did come through the Public Safety Committee, and I do applaud Mr. Jackson for his efforts, and we call for this war on illegal dumping and cleaning up, and we asked for all hands on deck. And so I think just to offer a support, and the attorneys just said there's don't put the city in liability. So I think it's just something we should support. Maybe other folks should step up to.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrison,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Muhammad.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item is authorization to enter into agreement with Third Coast Surf Shop. Our recommendation, Mayor Muhammad and Benton City Commission approve renewing the agreement with Third Coast Surfing Incorporated for a 5-year term ending April 30, 2023. Additionally, the manager is authorized to sign an agreement on behalf of the city of Benton Harbor.
Is there a motion for the approval of the Third Coast? Motion made by Commissioner Adams. Supported by Commissioner Isom. Discussion. Is there discussion? Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
There's supposed to be some stipulations put on that. They're supposed to move their, whatever the thing was, metal container, to a location before this agreement was ever even supposed to come back to us. I never was notified that it was moved. It was in the same place where I never seen it. So if we do agree to it, is there still some stipulations that we did request of them that they have not given us? Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
I've had conversations with Mr. Ryan Gerard, who is in full agreement with whatever the city commission has asked regarding movement of the container, as well as some other stuff. I think it was related to Gene Clark Park, and he's in agreement with it. I know Commissioner Adams, you said 5 years, so 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23 would be 5 years. Because we're in this year, so this one, yeah.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I like to see those changes in our resolution, that they're there to protect the city. I'm totally not in agreement to give 5 years. The fee, I don't see the fee in there. There was a big question mark, red flag came up on the percentage that we were supposed to get out of his gross, I believe. I'm not sure exactly now, but it's not in the document. There were some things that he just cannot do in Gene Clark Park that he's been doing for 5 years. I'm not supporting this because there's not those stipulations are not in the resolution, and leaves out quite a bit when you leave out the money. And I never did get an answer on if his finances was documented. If there's a percentage that we're supposed to get, then how much did he really make? I never got that answer, so I'm not supporting this until we write those stipulations in and get our answers.
The manager, assistant manager.
On the document, number 6, versus rent, client will receive, client being the city of Ben Harbor, 8% of gross sales of operation to include rental and or sales of beach-related gear and supplies. If provider exercises that option, with a minimum base of $5,000 and a 2% increase for each consecutive year following, to be paid by check in 3 installments in the following months of each year, July, August, and September. So it is in there.
I see it, I'm sorry. I missed that page.
So is this in addition to the city income tax?
Yes.
So how are we,
It's a business.
you talking to me?
Chair?
Thinking business.
I want to ask some questions because, so are we charging this person city income tax and charging them additional money to operate?
That is correct.
That's what we do.
Is that right?
That's what we do.
You were paying before that.
Because if somebody start, as hard as I had to fight for that tax 2 times.
You wasn't on the one.
On the first time, some of you wasn't with it. I can say that it's the second time. But anyway, we gotta be fair. Because if somebody start getting a percent of ours and charging us over here too, that's not right. And I don't think it's, for us to start counting other people. Well, how much they make it? Well, we're supposed to get 8% and we're going to get 1%. That's not right. Mr. Manager?
That percentage is for the rental of the space.
Okay.
The other is for the income that he earns during the time that he operates. So there are 2.
So we charging them for space?
This is for rental. This is a rental.
And this is our facility that
Yes,
you're
sir.
in.
Yes, sir.
But just give me some clarity.
No problem, I understand.
Thank you.
May I?
Please.
Still learning about business myself. I do have some knowledge of when I have functions since I've only been running one for whatever. I may have missed it, City Manager Watson through Chair. We had a discussion with the young gentleman about the pavement and the replacement of it when it does damage. Is that in the document?
That is not, this is specifically, Commissioner, about the monies and the rentals and the logistics of how he does that.
Okay, but see, if it sinks, it won't be a business.
So again, if there is an addendum to it that the City Commission wants to craft or we want to do, again, I've talked to him.
I thought that we had did that.
No, this is strictly about operation.
Operation,
Correct.
okay.
This is about his operation.
Okay.
And what he gives to the city and what the city affords him.
Okay.
If you want to do an addendum, basically terms of agreement, or added to it, we can do that.
Okay, it's not too late, and we don't wanna put more on him, but as it is right now, who repairs that pavement? Who pays for that? The city of Ben Harbor? Okay.
He is renting the city of Ben Harbor space with insurance that names the city as a second on it. So if there's any charges against his business, we will go after his insurance company.
We just talking about the pavement that.
So
that
if he damaged, that's what he carries the liability insurance for.
Okay, so he can write that off on it. I mean, he can pay his deductible and they can repair it and all that. Okay.
Yes,
But do we have that right
that's
in a
insurance.
policy?
That's an insurance policy. We asked him
Okay.
that he get $1 million aggregate with us named as a second on it.
Okay.
So we're asking him to do that while he uses our property, because in the event that something does happen, then we have recourse against him,
Okay.
which would be through his insurance company.
Okay.
Commissioner Henry.
Now that I got the chance to really look at it, I'm having a different thought, except one thing. There's no sign in Gene Clark Park. And I see that he's determined to put signs up, and that has been a standard rule in Gene Clark Park for years, just like no liquor is. So I'm having a problem with, I see that he is going to be more responsible, because the last 2 years he just kept the garage in an uproar. It was all messed up, but I see that he's put some things in place to clean it up and not make it look so disarrayed. But the signage, you can't get around that, because Gene Clark Park don't allow signs.
We can take signage out of it. I don't think there's an issue with signage, Commissioner.
Is there any further comments, Commissioner
Yes.
Henry?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams.
Just one last thing. This sits there all winter. Does it pay all year round?
The rental doesn't, the rental is all year. So this is an all year rental.
Okay.
Yep. So if he's fortunate enough to allow.
Is it
people
one
to-
flat fee?
It's a flat fee, and then there's incremental increases during the year.
Thank you.
Call for question.
Commissioner at large Singleton calls for the question.
Commissioner Harrelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
No,
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes.
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 Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson, yes. Mayor Muhammad,
Yes.
motion carries.
This brings us to staff comments. Chair recognizes Deputy Director Clark.
Nothing tonight.
Chair recognizes City Attorney Hearn.
Nothing in addition.
Chair recognizes City Clerk.
Just wanted to inform the commission that we will have a primary election for the office of the mayor, but due to the limited numbers of candidates for the commissioner at large, first and second ward, it will go straight to the November general election.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton. No, excuse me, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick things. Community Economic Development Director Jennings is out today with a sick child, but just to let the commission know that the CDBG timeliness that we were up against has been met. We got basically a bill of good health, if you will, from HUD regarding the fact that we have expended the dollars that we needed to do in the time that we were allotted. But we continue to work on the projects that are on that agreed modification of the annual action plans from 2014 to 2017. Also, the cleanup is this weekend, and there's some misnomers floating out there. The cleanup is a drop-off cleanup where we're setting up down here at City Center to drop off stuff so people can bring it down to City Center. Mr. Williams has agreed to go around to places that we have where there's workers that are gonna be there to pick up stuff, so we don't have to transport it twice. But we're gonna pay for the dump that he has to do for that. The city will pay for it. And I know Commissioner Henderson may speak more about it, but it's the 2 days, the Friday and Saturday, so that we can get that done. So yeah, to let everyone know, be able to bring anything you want downtown to dump so that we can get it done at City Center Park. And then going forward, like I said, you have probably 10 more cleanups that are coming. Mr. Jackson, there's several out at Gene Clark Park. There are other entities that are trying to do multiple cleanups. This is just the first one, or probably the second one now, that is being done just to get that level of clarity for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Again, I applaud the citizens for getting involved, helping clean up the city. Whatever we can do on our end too to assist. So again, I applaud that. The clerk mentioned the primary election, and as they say down south, vote early and vote often. So, but we also ask citizens to get involved to fill positions. Unfortunately, it's not a primary for the other seats. But at least somebody, some people did step up. So I think it's coming a time that people do want to get involved. We hope to fill committees and seats and everything else. I think we need to just keep the momentum going about making the city better, making life better for all of us. So sometimes, like you see these seats here, could be the hot seats. You get the arrows and everything. You just have to bob and weave and just do the best you can. Represent the people. I do, take it real serious. Been here pretty much all my life, and I just like to see things a lot better, for the citizens of Benton Harbor, and so that's one of the reasons that I say, hey, get involved, not sit on the couch and point fingers and fuss about it. Let's do something about it. So thank you, citizens, for sticking around. Long night, another half hour, we probably would have had to suspend the rules, but we might have had a problem with that. So, just keep coming, keep making your wishes and whatever made known to us, and those who sit on committees also. Also, come to the committee meetings. You'll hear a lot at those committee meetings, and then when you get here, you can kind of also get an idea of what's been said. So let's just work together.
Thank you, Commissioner Singleton. I do want to caution the council that we have to be mindful of state laws, that we cannot use the city chambers or city property to campaign, or especially if running for office. So we cannot endorse candidates in the city chambers. So just be mindful of that. Commissioner Ison.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I thank the citizens coming out tonight. Citizens for the comments. Ms. Bernard, see you had no plan with you tonight. That's all right. But you had to clean up this weekend. Is that, hope there's rain or shine, or it's supposed to rain? I want to try to get out there and do my best to load up some stuff. I got some co-workers that I work with in Bangor that said they want to come out. I don't know if they wanna bring a truck to help clean the city out. So I don't know the procedure on doing that. But, you know, the city is real, it's in bad shape with the mattresses and the couches and, but we know, we done seen the pictures, even just driving around, you know. The Hillside Block Club, I seen the two, Doors and Jeanette, they clean up the hillside down there. And they still doing it too, they still it was out the other day, they believe in their city, they wanna see it clean. They out there bending over, I couldn't stop, I was on my way somewhere, but I wish I could've, you know, but, you know, it's gonna take all of us together to get this thing done, you know, who we can hit it hard this weekend, you know, it's a lot, you know, you gotta be careful, you don't wanna step on needles or something, so it's, you know, I don't know, you know, it's a lot of stuff, you know, but we gotta start somewhere. You know, don't forget support your library, go down there and visit. We got a lot of things going on down there. It's a good blossom parade this weekend. The weather was right. Seeing all the people together, the different cultures, and seeing the farmers market being used, you know, so it's a good thing. The city's moving forward. We're gonna get there, you know. I know we agree and debate on things, you know, we should go this way, this direction. As long as we still stand together, we can get there. Thank you for listening.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank the residents for coming out, taking time out of your busy schedule to come down and find out how your government is working for you, or not. You know, when this meeting first started off this evening, we were talking about, I think when we got to the part of the vendors, the trucks, the businesses. There are a lot of people that have a passion to do things, and not everybody wants to work in a factory. Not everybody wants to go off and be a movie star. Now, somebody has got to flip the burgers. Somebody has got to do the grass cutting. We all have our prospective places down here on God's green earth. Right. And I just want to leave y'all with this. Don't ever, and if you've never had to stand at the bridge of needing to be forgiven, judge anybody. It's a real harsh thing coming from an experience of mine. And the overwhelming pain of others that I was in the midst of, the fear and everything else that comes along with it. Some guilty, some not. But unless you stand at that bridge of needing to be forgiven, I'm gonna let the Creator do the judging. But when it comes to this cleanup thing, I am really happy, and I'm gonna be out doing what I can. I'm gonna be out doing my part. If I have to be dropping some bags off, holding a dustpan or a shovel, I'm gonna do my part. I just hope and pray that we can get some movement of a street sweeper. And I can't think of any place better that I would love to see a street sweeper. And I'm gonna say this now because it needs to be done in the fall and in the spring. Our children that ride that bus across that bridge that little girl fell and died in should not have to look at that driving on such a beautiful paved bridge. At least the bridge itself, and that's another story when you get to the end of it. Right. But even to the street over there, in front of their schools, our babies. We have to change the narrative of what they're seeing, because it's their norm. Right. And then I saw a young mother over on High Street, and she was the only one out sweeping. I got out, wanted to help her, and I was going to come back. I was just busy, just checking out the neighborhood. I'm going back around now. Oh, we're going to clean that street up. I used to play on that street. Jump ball, rope, everything. And it's a lot of children in the community over there still grown-ups sitting on the porch. Get up and get engaged. It's nice. You can have the grill going. You can even turn the music on. But let's get some brooms and some rakes. Clean up this glass that our children are playing in. Sad. It's just sad. I'm done.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, for the time. I appreciate it greatly. I want to commend our Public Safety Department, who on Saturday caught Harbor Shiner people dumping and had to tow that truck and arrested the driver. And they were literally dumping down the hill. The man said that wasn't the first time that they had done it. So, is that correct? Thank you, David Clark.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, we commend them for doing an outstanding job and helping in the city cleanup. I like the way this government operates. I see great potential, in what's going on. And I would also say, and I would ask this request of anybody who is utilizing anything that's and representative of the city that city chief was kind of upset. There's a picture floating around him looked like he had a stroke on the mayor's Friends of the Mayor's page. The developer of the page said he was going to take it down, and he did. I want to say publicly we thank you for that, because we don't want nobody looking in a bad light as far as our employees or our politicians. And it was a very positive article, but it had the police chief looking in a bad light. Thank everybody for coming out and stand. Big Archie is one of our legends in our area, who's been on the ones and twos for so many years, who best thing to bring people together, I found out, is music and food. And we need to do a better job of our giving the correct knowledge, which is true. There's people still passing out water filters. I wonder why. There's people still collecting water in the harbor saying that we have some kind of crisis going on. I prefer that we be in front of it and in the back of it. But when people are asked questions, it seems like it's a conflict to get an answer.
Right.
When you have senior citizens who call commissioners who have issues and we can't give answers. On the 1st and 3rd and the last of the month, there should be no way our water department does not have somebody there to collect the payment. There should be not one time that it says out to lunch when people are coming at lunchtime. Then we shut them off. And the other thing is, and I will ask about our commission, that we do come up with a drip policy or a leak policy, because if somebody does have a leak in the township, they give them some type of credit they can prove it was fixed. We used to do it back in the day. We got to provide some relief for the resident. It was a question that was asked about how much the people were making at the surf shop, the percentage. The only way you can get taxes is know how much they're making. And that's why Harbor Shores keep getting us somehow, because they say they ain't making no money. And you can't get a percentage of nothing. Nothing from nothing, basically leave nothing. But because I file my income tax every year, you know exactly the dime we make. So let's make sure as a body we keep on this positive direction. I feel that we are moving in the right direction. And hopefully this is just what I started out at. And the way I started out, the way I'm gonna hold out. I ain't got time to change, I'm too old. My grandmother often said that she watches on YouTube, this is too merch. And a lot of this is too merch. But I just ask that, we give correct information, because lastly, Honorable Mayor, and I will say this, thank you. There's something really going on with our children. We need to start looking at some stuff to find out why. This meeting here, nobody talked about one child.
Excuse me?
Except you did, you just said something. I apologize, you just got done. But we don't talk about the children as much as we need to
empower the children. I know we gotta raise our own, but we gotta do something in order to better it for the children and the senior citizens. I went to the senior center, and it looked like, finish my comment, as Mayor Hotchild would say, it don't look like a place that I would would want my seniors to be gathering. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Elson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to thank all the citizens for coming out and seeing your government in action on tonight. I appreciate you with the historic, want to do some of Martin Luther King things that is very important to our young people, that we had someone to take our young people under the arm and show them it's okay to read about it, but be a part of it is different. So I appreciate you. I appreciate Ms. Kennard, and I also appreciate Mr. Hort for what he's doing. And I'd like to thank all the citizens for coming out. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Henry.
I want to thank the citizens for coming out. I want to make some comments to my colleagues. There were some things that came out that we need to work on. The personnel and finance matter. If there is allocation that something has happened, we need to find out, and we need to make sure it doesn't happen, or whatever we need to do to fix it. It needs to come through committee, and maybe you should ask our attorney for some legal counsel on it and see how we do it. But if the federal government can do it, we can do it too. We need to investigate and find out what happened. And especially because it's happened before. Okay? I would like to see if we can get more detail on the farmer's market too. I understand there was some complication, but we weren't informed of it. And so now's the time to be informed. And I'm hoping that we can bring it through Parks and Rec. May the 27th, Communication Public Relations Committee will be on the fourth Monday of the month at 5:30. We have some very interesting and innovative things that we're going to talk about in this committee meetings for next. So I hope that everyone comes out, and remember that if there is a meeting in these chambers, it's being recorded, and you can go on YouTube and look for the City of Benton Harbor and look at all our meetings, see what we said and what we didn't say. Get involved. We can't do it by ourselves. We're looking for citizens to stay involved and be at the table. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. About the ordinances and amendments, the amendment to Chapter 9, food for thought. We need to really think about the international people we have in our communities. So another avenue that we need to look at is the religious and cultural practices by these individuals. So that might be another turning point for us to really investigate and ask questions about that amendment. Dealing with Chapter 30.5 with mobile foods, and I appreciate you guys trying to get a leap on that. That's been a big thing that's popping up in communities across the U.S. You remember that was a lost art, having a food truck. But the issue with felony, we need to really review that. Because if you think about it, just like we're dealing with elections, we got a lot of people that's involved with campaigns with hardline felonies. You know, not disparaging them from being a voter, but we're dealing with issues of felons dealing with campaigns that might have some type of implication, if not some type of influence with that. So, yeah, we need to really pay attention to that. Dealing with the resignation letter, the alleged letter, for it to be alleged, it's on our agenda. So that brings about a different question to me, that if nobody really knew anything about it, it shouldn't be up here on this agenda. That's very discouraging. I have to side with Commissioner Seats a bit, as well as Commissioner Henry. We need to fix these things that we have hanging out there. With the lawn care. This young man, through Commissioner Seats' urging, contacted me because he didn't like how things were looking over in my ward after different people cut the grass. And he provided pictures for me. I also went over there to those areas. And I did get in touch with the city manager, and he let me know, as well as he went up to the areas and checked them out. A lot of those lots were private owners' lots, and they cut them and left it trashy. But those that was cut by the people we hired from the city, if I'm not wrong, some of it was rectified. But when you address, Mayor, the personal aspect, we gotta look at people being personal on both sides. And it just so happened I was on Columbus Street last summer. And I saw this guy just got to finish cutting the grass. And I'm looking at the trash that's in the grass line that eventually started breezing out into the street. And just so happened, here come Commissioner Seats traveling down. We spoke. The gentleman that was cutting grass made a disparaging remark. Commissioner Seats drove off. But he tried to tell me the trash just popped up, and I've been talking with this guy for over 30 minutes. As I'm watching this trash roll off the grass and he cut it. Foam plates and whatnot. So again, we need to really pay attention to what's going on around here and follow up with these people we have, work for us. One of the gentlemen, the one that got in contact with me, I happen to be in the area, and a lot of time I'll be on foot. He stopped and had kids that he had hired pick up the trash in one of the lots that was cleaned up. Well, not cleaned up, was cut. He hopped up, had them get out there and picked up the trash. All right? Didn't talk about it, went on about his way. Yeah, we need to deal with this personal issues, because I'm looking at a guy right here in disbursements that was sent to a school for investigation. And he has no type of customer service and no type of respect for those that serve on this commission. And this was a person I spoke on years ago, sending him to the police academy. And if I may add a little more time, I'd like to thank Mr. Archie. I've always been an inspiration since I've been back in the area. Mike Hoy for your endeavors. Just follow through with what you say. Mr. Davis, you're so right. We need to watch out for the kids and whatnot, but we also need to watch out what we do in front of these kids. I remember going up over by Hall Park and I would see this car parked up under a tree.
Commissioner, can you please finish your comments?
And I will.
Yeah.
And I will. And it's speaking to what we talked about earlier. This car will be parked, and the gentleman in the car will be blazing his drugs. You got kids playing around, shooting basketball and everything. And I used to send messages to the chief to go ahead and take a look over there, right? Because, yeah, I do care. But again, back to the personal. Because May 3rd marks the anniversary of me having an issue that was made personal, not by myself. But it was never addressed by this commission, nor you, when it was brought up. So I have an issue with that. And the problem with a lot of things here is people with good memories. So mention the city income tax and the water crisis.
Commissioner,
And-
you gotta.
No.
Your time is up.
Those that's here on this board now
Your time is up.
are some of the ones that told people to vote against it when it's getting close. The water crisis, since everybody loves Facebook so much, people might need to remove their name from Facebook because they still mentioning the water crisis. So that's a message to my commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Just wanted to mention briefly about the citywide cleanup that's happening on Friday and Saturday. And I just want to thank this commission for getting involved in helping to clean up our city. Like you know, we all care about the city. We disagree, and that's what we're supposed to. It's a democracy, and so we don't think the same. But on Friday at 9 a.m., we'll be meeting up at the high school. We have several donors and people who will be bringing pizza and coffee on Saturday, and coffee on Friday and Saturday. So it'll be a great experience. Hopefully, you'll get a chance to get out. But as the manager talked about, there's some misnomers about picking up. We are not picking up at people's individual homes. The purpose of this cleanup was to get a head start or to help with the dumping that's happening. So we've heard from people saying that they don't have transportation to drop things off, but somebody's finding ways to dump couches, mattresses, tires, trash all throughout the city. So people have rides to dump trash. So what we did, we wanted to provide a neutral zone for the community to actually go and dump large items. So if you could get the word out again, just letting people know we are not providing, we're not picking up at individual homes. We're just providing a location that people can go and bring and dump things, because people are dumping. We just want to kind of control it at this point to get a head start on the cleanup. So just letting people know that. And again, just to, we will disagree, but there's a way to disagree with people without being disrespectful. I know when we sit up here and people in the audience are talking, I'm listening because I want to hear what's being said. Even if I disagree, I want to hear, and I'll sit up so that I can hear what's being said. It'll just be great for civility to re-enter meetings. We have to be civil. We talk about the community or what the commission isn't doing, but we are examples. There's news media here, there's papers here, and there has been a level of disrespect tonight that's just, I think, reached new levels, and something that we need to work on as a whole. Again, you may disagree with somebody, and that's fine, but there's a way to disagree without being disrespectful. The chief started a campaign, see something, say something. If I see somebody driving in a lot, and I've done it too, I'm calling the police. I don't care who it is. If you have the courage to sell drugs in my neighborhood, you need to go to jail. You have the courage to pull out a gun in my neighborhood and shoot up in the air or whatever, you deserve to go to jail. So if we see something, we need to say something. I'm not going to watch a drug deal go down. I'm not going to watch somebody pull out a gun. I'm not going to watch a fight without saying something. I'm calling. If I don't know the children myself, I'm going to get involved, because I do know a lot of the youth, because I do work in the school. So caring about kids, I dedicate my life to that. I see it every day. So see something, say something in our community. That's our motto, and I hope that continues to be the case. But we need to raise up our respect and our civility to a new level as leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. I'd like to thank the residents for coming out. I'd like to thank Commissioner Henderson for spearheading and working in the effort. May 10th and 11th coming up, and I hope that the weather, as Commissioner Ison mentioned, will be kind, so we can do some much needed cleanup of our city. The Blossom Time Parade, the responses that I have received from community people, from residents, has been overwhelming. The porta potties were out, so residents and persons could relieve themselves. Of course, weather, Mother Nature was very kind. The city of Benton Harbor was first in the parade, and our young people really shined. So that's a positive note, I think, moving forward. Update on the CDBG, 1173 Levette, 55,000. There were whole house repairs, 566 East May, whole and minor home repairs of 45,000. 884 Wasita, whole repairs at 50,000. 1220 Union, minor repairs at 5,000. 607 Green, minor repairs at 5,000. 1259 Bishop, minor repairs at 8,900. And 1142 Hurd, whole repairs at 34,650. And these were part of the monies that we were given a deadline that the city of Benton Harbor had to expend or we lose it. And I think that it was a tedious process to resubmit to HUD, but they demanded shovel-ready projects, and this was one of the allocations that they allowed were home improvements. And I think that we've had some success with it, so I look forward at our next CDBG budget to where we continue to help homeowners and residents to improve their properties. Big Archie, I know that's AKA, but we do appreciate your work, of course, with the Juneteenth committee and all of those a part of that committee in Kennard. But we also appreciate your work in the community over the years. Of course, you've been very instrumental in the Blues Festival and working with Mr. Lee in 20 years out at Gene Clark Park. And we look forward to another 20. Just like to close on the point on civility. The word respect comes from the Latin spectare, which means to look, and re is again. So in order to respect one another, we have to continue to look and notice, the nuances and the changes, and also, being able to look at people's ideas and respect the differences, but at the same time keeping a level of civility to where we can agree to disagree. And when it gets to the point to where we just fighting and fussing and cussing, it's a loss to the people. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
10 o'clock.
Support.
Made by Commissioner Benton, supported by
Support.
Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Iceland?
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Harrelson?
Yes.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry? Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Motion carries.